Welcome to Adventures in Solitaire. So initially I was going to make this one video, but because of the different topics I was going to be covered, I figured it best to just go ahead and cover it in one. But there's a little bit of a spoiler as far as my gateway game. It's obviously HeroQuest. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how I discovered it, what its impact was on me, maybe a little bit of its impact on the industry, and then on another video to follow, its impact on some things I'm going to be doing soon for the channel. But I know exactly when I was first introduced and how I was first introduced to HeroQuest. Sometimes I find that a bit of a rarity on things that we can remember, but I remember very clearly because it was I don't want to say overproduced, but certainly a lot of money and budget was spent on a TV commercial back in around 1989, and it struck me pretty hard. As far as the imagery that it was presenting, not so much the imagery of the actors, but really what the actors were surrounding, what they were wrapped around, and that was a board that was, two-dimensional with three-dimensional props coming out of it, and tons of miniatures, skeletons and goblins and what looked to be knights and who knows what. And it was the first time outside of maybe the Game of Life at that time where I remember the board coming out at you, that it became three-dimensional. And I didn't care that it didn't have walls. It had open doors. It had closed doors. It had what looked to be like so many different pieces of furniture and whatnot scattered around the dungeon. And I remember after seeing that video, I could not wait for my parents to take me to Walmart. And I remember asking to go to Walmart, and my parents, not wanting to be bothered with the extra time and whatever that it might be involved me going with them. So I remember asking them, can you do me a favor while you're there? If I can't go, can you tell me if they have this game there? And I remember wishing I hadn't asked, because I remember them coming back and say, oh yeah, how many did they have? Well, they had a reasonable number. Well, how many? And they were getting upset because I wanted details. And I remember being upset because now I knew it was there and I couldn't even see it. I wanted to have that box in my hands to look at it. I remember some time passing, a week or two, and I finally got to go to the store with my parents, and immediately I wanted to go back there. I was so scared my parents wouldn't let me go back there, or that they wouldn't walk with me back there, because I was pretty young. I think I was 9 at the time. And so they, and I think they knew I was special back then anyway. So, and if you watch my channel, you'd understand what I mean by special. But so I went, I remember going back there and seeing it. I remember being so exhilarated and picking up that box. And I remember looking at the box art and just the box art just grabbing my attention. That big warrior holding the sword. I remember flipping the box over and seeing all the miniatures and everything else. I remember wanting to read over every last piece of it. And I didn't even notice the price. And, of course, my heart sinks when I see the price, because I think it was $30. Now, $30 may not seem like much, and it's not for a board game today. But understand that it's about priced right for what you'd expect that board game to be today. In fact, upon re-release, it's probably about $20 or so more expensive if you accounted for inflation for today's release of it. Though I would argue it has more plastic now than it did then, because these particular miniatures were plastic with a cardboard, like this wood piece here. Well, it's all wood, but this part up here would have been plastic. You'd have had cardboard down here that you would have folded underneath the plastic to make it stand upright. Same for the treasure chests and the doors, if I remember correctly. So, or parts of the doors anyway. So it was some time before I would finally get it, and I don't quite remember how I got it. If I imagine my parents probably caved after a few months of me wailing nonstop about wanting this game. And I got a lot of time out of it. I think given the amount of time I spent with it at that age, I think I probably spent more time with HeroQuest than I have any board game to this date. But keep in mind that was the only thing like it that I had. Even when talking about books like these, which weren't even around as far as I was concerned back then, I had no role playing system at that age at 9. So I remember trying to do my best, or just decorating the doors with, or not doors, decorating the rooms with any furniture or pieces of whatever I could, and just decking that dungeon out with whatever pieces I could get a hold of that they provided in a box. I remember wanting another box just so I could have more. I remember playing both sides of the table quite a bit, especially because of the number of times I read through the rules, read through the spells, and all the different things that I could encounter and the treasures. I knew that system backwards and forwards with my eyes closed, and so playing both sides of the table wasn't that hard for me, especially since I knew what moves I would make, whichever side of the board I was on. It really wasn't going to change up that much if I was playing with someone else and playing either side. I probably played it with other people, probably less than 10 times. So I played a lot by myself. Sound familiar? Kind of still there today. But it would form my as kind of a guiding post of what I expected out of my board games. And I remember for decades trying to find a board game that could replace it. I remember Descent came out. It felt very, very similar to me, but it just wasn't HeroQuest to me. Another one that had come out that felt close to it was Shadows of Brimstone, which I think that it was more of an homage to Warhammer Quest really than HeroQuest. But when you look at HeroQuest, Advanced HeroQuest that came after it, which I never got access to, and then you had Warhammer Quest that came from that, to my understanding. But even today, it still impacts me. It was the reason why I purchased Dungeon Crusade. This game was specifically called out by the author as paying a bit of homage to that game, as well as to some other titles. Unfortunately, this game was way too rules heavy for me, and it is just a monster. As I said in a previous video, it's a beast. And I want to get that out. I'm going to do my best to do that, but I don't think now is the time for that. It is a couple of hours at least just to set this thing up. It occupies more than my table, and I have a fairly large table that I'm at right now. So yeah, I think I had to have 2 of these tables, and even then I felt like I was a little shy in table space. It's crazy large. Obviously it's affected a lot for me. This was a reminder of me of HeroQuest. But the funny thing is that as much as I love it, I don't have it. I have not had it since I was probably about 12 or 13, when one day it just disappeared. I will never find out why it disappeared or how. I know it was by no cause of my own. It was just gone. That's something I've missed. It in a way, it's kind of not only my gateway game, it's also in a way my grail game. But I kind of want to share what that experience was like for me. Share that sense of wonder with anybody. We all like to share, as I mentioned that before in my videos, and that's what I want to do. But I wonder if any of you watching, if you've taken the time to watch this far, have had similar experiences with this game or maybe another game that just really just blew your mind and changed your view on gaming unplugged or board gaming in general, that just got you into that hobby where you just wanted more, where you were just seeking out this thing, what your idea, the penultimate board game experience was, solo or otherwise. I would be interested to hear in the comments if you have the time or the patience or the wherewithal to kind of talk about your experiences with that. I'm interested to hear. I think it's fun to listen to other people talk about those moments when they were younger, and that those moments of innocence and joy and the first discoveries. first realizations, and that was certainly this for me. I will never, ever, ever, ever forget those moments. They're obviously still very ingrained in my head. So visually, audibly, everything. But anyhow, so if you want to talk about that in the comments, please feel free to do that. And as always, if you've listened this far or not, thank you so very much for watching, and I'll look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.